What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again, once again, and today we're talking about Destiny and, well, I guess you could say most of the gaming community's obsession with self-sabotage and or cannibalism. Ergo decido, Latin for therefore leave, or then go off. The treacherous critic fallacy. It denotes responding to the criticism of a critic by implying that the critic is motivated by undisclosed favorability or affiliation to an outgroup. The fallacy implicitly alleges that the critic does not appreciate the values and customs of the criticized group or its tradition, and thus suggests that the critic should avoid the questions or topics entirely, typically by leaving the criticized group. The worst thing that a community can do is tell their critics, don't like, don't play, or go play something else. Hate, as the intellectually vapid would call it, is not your enemy, nor is it the enemy of your favorite franchise. Hate means it's relevant. Hate means people still care. Apathy is your enemy. It should be noted that this is an entirely different discussion, but tangential to the discussion of why fans don't leave bad games, which is a multifaceted and complex topic about addiction, familiarity, time, and emotional investment. The reason that it's tangential is because this is often the reason why communities have such divided fan bases. On one hand, you have the devout, the Bungie can do no wrong and thus I need to protect the developer and the game at all cost. Because the brand has become a means to consumer self-expression and a desire for their personal lifestyle. It is where their friends are at. It is where they spend their time. It is where they built their community. It is where they can go into a Twitch chat, and even though they are little more than 1 in 1,000 voices, and even though they may never even be recognized by the streamer or the content creator in YouTube comment sections, or even if they never speak in the chat and they're just lurking, they feel a part of something bigger than themselves. And so, they build a loyalty to these things. It's their tribe. Human psychology wants to build tribes and families and in-groups and out-groups. It's a feature of human evolution. And then on the other hand, you have the old guard or the disenfranchised who, whether it's accurately or inaccurately, remember the better days of Destiny. Before the cash shop was an ever-encroaching cancer, when strikes and raids were more creative and interesting, when PvP had more support and a plethora of game modes and maps, when Destiny was deeper than a FOMO-riddled gimmick to keep players engaged. Many of these detractors pine for a Destiny where they built their own community, and now they see those communities leaving the game. So these older players are jaded, hoping the next DLC will be the magic silver bullet that fixes everything and brings all their friends back. Because at the end of the day, for as much as they whine and complain and bitch and moan or whatever people want to say they do, they love the game. They just don't like what it's becoming. Both are two sides of the same coin. But here's the thing that fanboys need to understand. Detractors are not your enemy. Apathy is. Apathy is defined as a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Once players start showing a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern for something, that thing dies. The worst thing that you can do for a franchise is not, air quote, hate it. Even if people do actually hate it, it keeps people talking. It keeps people engaged. It keeps it relevant in the news. Apathy. A franchise losing interest or enthusiasm is the death knell of that franchise. That's why truly, at the end of the day, the only thing that can kill Destiny is Destiny. And the only way it does that is by making the experience so unbearable for players that they just leave. Because people already love Destiny, they're invested in it, they have friend groups, and feel like they're part of communities. Sure, different groups want different things based on personal preference, but at least they're still engaged. The only things that can kill Destiny is 1, Bungie continuing to let the player base feel unheard, and 2, by players within the community pushing players out, which is really what I want to talk about. The Destiny community and its obsession with telling people to leave. What's even the goal with this mentality? To kill the game you love with 1,000 cuts? What happens the next time that Bungie implements a change that is just as catastrophically ill thought out as stasis? And part of the community demands balance, and the fanboys in their shrill, tremulous voices all cry out,
don't play, or go play something else if you don't like it.
And the players who are critical of the state of the game go, yeah, you know what, fuck it. And there's a mass exodus to, I don't know, Final Fantasy XIV, look at WoW, or Halo Infinite, or Warframe, or any other number of games. Do the fanboys suddenly, magically, mystically have a better game now that all the voices of dissent have been extinguished from the player base? Or do they have a dying game? It really is the same argument when PvE players wish for PvP to be removed from the game. When you say that, what you're actually saying is, I want 541,400 people to not play Destiny. I would rather over 500,000 people stop playing Destiny than have a weapon or ability that I like nerfed. I would rather cut off my own nose to spite my face than have an aspect of the community around because it mildly inconveniences me. Because I perceive a change in the sandbox as their fault, not Bungie's, who's the ultimate arbitrator of these things or how they're changed. But let's presume a hypothetical for a moment. So let's suppose that everybody who doesn't like stasis, instead of trying to fix the game, said, well, the fanboys said, don't play, or go play something else. And so they all left the game. They have this mass exodus. This starts a potential cycle where new players see this mass exodus, so they gasp, shock, horror, think the game's dying, because the population exodus represents that it's dying. So why would anyone want to waste time or money in a game that's dying? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you not only have a huge dip in player population overnight, but you lose streamers and content creators, because as we all know, streamers and content creators are the bane of any game's existence. They're the ones that we need to blame for all the changes, not the company for how the changes were implemented. No. We need to blame the streamers. Fuck streamers. When you don't have streamers, when you don't have content creators, when you have people leaving the game, guess what happens? Sure, you don't have anybody criticizing the game anymore because you don't have anybody playing it but you. What do you have left? What is the end game? What do you hope will happen when all the critics leave? Will the game be better? Or will it be an island of none? Do you think that Bungie will suddenly become more generous with content or with the cash shop? Or will they become even more greedier because now, not only do they have to make up for those lost players, but they don't have people telling them what they're doing is wrong. They have a positive feedback loop of people praising them for everything they're doing, and it just gets worse, not better. By telling people who are dissatisfied with one aspect of the game or another to leave, you're not saving your game from the mean critics. At best, you're inoculating yourself from criticism of something that has become part of your identity. And is people's sense of self so fragile that they have to interchangeably be tied to a brand, and then that brand becomes the totality of their personality? So they believe that if you attack the brand, you're actually attacking them? I just don't understand the mentality of telling members of your community to leave because they said something negative or critical about the state of the game that you like. That just seems like a recipe for disaster to me. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. But above all else, stay frosty.